Oh, someone clip that. Holy shit.
Welcome back, nerds. Fino here with a guide for Summer Bio Broly. She's a 5-star Moon Cancer with a Split Arts Buster deck. Despite her niche class, she's good for more than just fighting Avengers, and as we're about to see, she has a wide, if kinda strange variety of applications. Big Brother has a special mechanic that makes her one of the most unique servants in the game. Moreover, she can give attackers the kind of consistency that turns chumps into heroes and heroes into gods. The key lies in her third skill, Faceless Moon. This locks your current hand for 3 turns, meaning you'll get the same cards every turn during that period. By locking your main attacker into a Brave Chain, your DPS goes through the roof, and with a bit of retreat scumming, you can run otherwise incompatible or inconsistent servant combos just for buff synergy. As a bonus, Faceless Moon has a 20-30 style effect that gives you a sizable chunk of stars per turn. With other sources of star income, you can easily turn a Brave Chain into a consistent crit Brave Chain. Now this does have some drawbacks. If your hand changes for any reason after you pop the skill, it disappears. You can't shuffle your cards, which is fine because you should be doing that first anyway. The bigger problem is that if any member of your team dies or swaps out, the effect breaks. Because of this, you really need your frontline to be durable enough to take 3 turns of damage. Oh, another note, and this won't be relevant to NA for a while, but there is an interesting exception. JP Saber recently got a conversion skill that turns all her cards into buster cards for 1 turn. Using this does not break Faceless Moon. Pretty interesting. It can be kind of a hassle, especially if your card RNG sucks, but setting up a lock has huge upsides. For an extreme example, there's Superhuman Orion. He has absurdly high single-turn damage due to his ramping Buster crit buff, but setting up the stars to align with your Buster cards can be quite tricky. Bara Bowser lets you reserve a Buster Brave Chain and gives you a lot more control over Orion's Hyper Burst turn. You can even pop Artemis Agnos on the first turn to set up your true Burst turn, and not have to worry about losing your hand. For another example, consider the upcoming Qin Liang Yu. Her Noble Phantasm gives her on-hit debuffs that, among other things, reduce the defense of her target. With Bodacious Babe, you can lock her arts cards and set up an NP double arts combo that, with crit support, can let her NP every turn while offloading her full debuffs. And finally, there's the garbage man himself, Dr. Jekyll. His awful consistency makes his powerful double buffs into a joke, but with a locked Brave Chain, you can get a lot of mileage out of his 2 Buster cards. You might think Billy Bob is a lightweight, and she sort of is because she rarely gets true class advantage. However, she can offset this annoyance with her first skill, Self-Modification. It gives her a large crit and star absorption buff. And trust me, she crits hard even without external support. Combining this with a locked hand and support buffs, Butt Basher can rip through enemies easily as a primary attacker. One notable upshot is that because Summer Buster Blader is more like a Buster crit attacker, she has her own use in the Anti-Avenger niche, one that isn't covered by 4-star Bonzi Buddy. If an Avenger boss has side mobs or NP gain debuffs, Summer Ball Buster's instant gratification buffs can put them in their place. Certain quick attackers lack their own NP gain buffs, requiring the Plug Suit and other supports to give them what they need in the absence of quick crits. Generally, this doesn't turn out super well since you lose access to Fragment of 2004 and don't gain enough in return. But what if you can get those quick crits every time? With Bullet Bill, you can pop your Scotty buffs and then rotate Bollinger Bands in. With a non-kaleidoscope setup, this could happen as early as turn 1, and with a scope build, turn 2. In either case, you just lay into your enemy and build meter with quick crits, presumably with overgauge too. Now you're not guaranteed any particular set of cards in your first 2 hands, meaning this is practical primarily for super bosses that you only need to beat once. Scumming like 5 AP on a challenge quest, that sort of thing. Just remember that BlazBlue can't leave the field once you commit to Faceless Moon, so rotate her in place of your depleted support, not the other way around. I'm only half joking with this one. Basic Bitch is actually a surprisingly good farmer depending on the event. She does class neutral damage against most nodes, but she can equip event damage CEs to amp her output and make her into a 3rd wave killer. Despite being a last boss Kohai, she ain't so bad at killing last bosses herself. The big enabler here is her second skill, Aurea Pork Poculum. It's a 50% battery with a Buster buff, NP damage, evasion, and a self-heal. Powerful stuff. And it sets her up for a Noble Phantasm, Cursed Cutting Crater. It's an AoE Buster attack that reduces charge. It also has a small chance to reduce charge a 2nd time. Pretty interesting. Now you can run a standard drop CE with a waiver support, but your damage might be a bit suspect. Where Beta Blocker really excels in this area is when you have event damage CEs. Two cases come to mind. One is an event like Tokugawa Labyrinth, where you fight a ton of high health enemies as part of a very lengthy main quest progression. The other is a ladder style event like Oniland, which will be this year's Halloween event. Oniland has a bunch of card effectiveness CEs that double as point amplifiers. Bountiful Bosom is an outstanding carrier for the Bustercraft essence. Because of Faceless Moon, Budget Bureau works quite well with the Mages Association uniform. That's the one that shuffles your hand. Well, what if I told you there was a servant with that ability? Summer 4 introduces Ruler Altria, and she does just that. This combination gives you 2 rerolls and the ability to lock your hand, drastically increasing your odds of drawing what you need. Now, the drawback is that Ruler Altria herself isn't the greatest attacker, and in my experience, she tends to get in the way more often than not. So if your third servant isn't a bomb-ass attacker and the other 2 don't have class advantage, you're in for a rough time. And if you miss your dream hand, then you're really fucked. It's kind of a meme, but funny when you can get away with it. For craft essences, you can run 50%ers like Golden Sumo and Aerial Drive for some instant gratification. However, Black Rail is also on the table, and in combination with a 50% support, you'll get some pretty solid damage. Buster Crit options like Victor of the Moon and Joint Recital fit with her kit fairly well. Holy Knight Supper has a pretty spicy NP damage crit starting charge combo, 20-30 is outstanding for support deployments, and you'll essentially get 2 on a single servant, which is crazy value. Even more if your second support has it too. For a somewhat more aggressive build, you can replace 20-30 with Golden Catches the Carp, as it puts her in NP range and allows her to use her crit skill immediately. I talked about the Mage's Mystic Code earlier, but another one that caught my interest was Anniversary Blonde. Its Buster Buff and Star Dump give Barry Bonds a shot in the arm, while its Gut Skill can be a bit of insurance to stop Faceless Moon from ending prematurely. Some final notes. Brave Bird has passive burn immunity, which is occasionally relevant when you're fighting burn-on-contact enemies like Yangui Fei. Another notable quality is her exceptionally low death rate, comparable to enemy servants. This means she has yet another niche against insta-kill gimmick fights. Also, as you saw in the opening, she has a tendency to fuck up the models of super large enemies. Some bonus entertainment is always nice, am I right? Maybe I should have put her on a team with Tomoe. Nah, then I'd have to come up with another CCC acronym. Finally, something you'll be seeing in future Lost Build chapters are extremely overpowered support servants. If you have Booty Bay, well, I think you can see where I'm going with that. So what's the verdict? I'd say that Summer Bling Bling isn't really essential, but she does take a lot of strategies that would normally be in meme territory and give them a deadly consistency. Some strats that are almost good, she supercharges into viable, though not dominant alternatives. She enables what are essentially solo attacker strats without having them be the only member on the field, greatly increasing their survivability and offering access to support skills. That's a very powerful tool if you have the creativity to exploit it. So for Adventurous Masters, Bareback has a lot to offer. Thumbs up. Still not taking responsibility though. Thanks for watching. Like if you liked the video, subscribe for more, and stop by my Twitch stream where I act like an idiot and roll for servants I probably shouldn't. I'm on the air Friday through Sunday starting at 3 p.m. Pacific time. This week's flavor of suffering is Castoria and the JPGSSR. See you there.